When you get to the level of all the clients that I work with, professional athletes, or with some of the startup CEOs that I work with, the challenge for them is the realization that occurs when they get to that high level, that they're actually not the best at what they do. That somebody else in that same environment who grew up in the same situation has now come up right against them. They ask themselves, am I really that good in the beginning, or did the people behind me just push me to where I am right now?
Procrastination, self-doubt, imposter syndrome, fear of success, even perfectionism. As creators, our response to fear can often be very subtle and hidden within everyday habits and behaviors. The key to unlocking our full potential as creators isn't about never feeling afraid of something again. Rather, it's about getting better at managing fear. So, why don't we take a look at how fear often shows up in our lives, because it might surprise you.
Every mentally healthy person I've ever spoken to admits that sooner or later they get imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is that feeling that you have no right to be doing what you're doing, that you're a bit of a fraud, that you're going to be found out.
I remember when I was about to go on in The Secret, and now in over 162 different languages, right? But then it was just being born, and I was the next speaker up right after Jack Canfield, and he was about to go on, and I'm in my room, and I remember saying, okay, now they're gonna figure me out. They're gonna figure out that I don't really know all that I'd like to know. I'm good at a few things, but not as much as people probably think. I remember having this whole conversation and becoming at peace with being exposed.
If you are a normal, healthy person, of course you have imposter syndrome, because you're an imposter, and so am I. Because what it means to be an imposter is that you are announcing a future that is around the corner. You are making an assertion. You are leading. How could you be sure? How do you know for sure that what you're saying or doing or leading is going to work? You don't. So of course you feel like an imposter, because you are one. But you're a generous imposter. You're doing it in service of other people.
Fear for me has come in many times because I was raised in a family that was lower income. Compton, California, we had 7 people in a 2-bedroom apartment. So the idea to now leave the comforts of just being stuck and stepping out into new arenas was very scary to me, because I had to deal with cultures I'd never dealt with. I had to deal with people that were more advanced than me in education. And the first thing that hit me was this fear of, maybe you're not enough, Tim. Maybe you can't do it.
And so there's a place where you have to sort of embrace the doubt, embrace being vulnerable, embrace something not being perfect. Because who said it had to be perfect anyway? And just get the work out into the world.
Sometimes when we're trying to move forward, we get caught in sort of a perfectionist state. Now, one thing that's important to remember about perfectionism is that it's not about standards, it's about anxiety. And often we feel like we're being perfectionists because we're changing the images on our website, or we're playing with the fonts, or we're trying to get the report to fit on 12 pages. And it's this fussing, and it feels like we're trying to aim towards perfection. But what we're really doing is procrastinating.
Okay, how many procrastinators are in the room? Raise your hand. And everybody else is just procrastinating on raising their hand. I'm about to change your life. Procrastination is a form of stress relief. What are you stressed about?
It's really important for anybody, everybody, to get clear on how you procrastinate, whether it's binge watching, an episode of something on Netflix, or going out and exercising yourself to death, or eating, or talking on the phone, or hanging out with friends, shopping online. There's so many forms of distraction and procrastination nowadays, and we've all got a vice. All of us do. So it's really important to know what shows up for you, so that when you see it pop in, you're kind of like, I see what's happening here. And what do I choose?
whether it's fear of being rejected, fear of not being able to do it. The fear of success is another big one. I know a lot of people who fear success because they know that when they become more and more successful, there's a lot of expectations they're going to come on them that were not there before.
In fact, I think a large part of what drove me when I was young and what I was good at when I was young was this almost childish, stupid fearlessness that with age you start losing naturally. And at this point, I consciously remind myself to make an effort at it. It came naturally when I was younger, just because when you're young, you're stupid. You don't know what you don't know. But that not knowing what you don't know is an advantage sometimes being an entrepreneur. And the older you get, retaining that becomes really important.
For each person, it's really identifying, how you feel inside and not allowing yourself to twist the narrative. Really, really getting to the core of what is stopping you, what is holding you back. Is this, a hard stop because your mental health has to come first, your physical health has to come first. You're burning the candle at both ends, you're working way too hard and you need the break. Or, do you truthfully believe that you could move forward, but there's something else mentally as a roadblock?
And I think bringing your full self to all the work that you do will help alleviate some of that doubt. So when the doubt creeps in, you sort of look back at the things that you've done well and trust yourself that you've made something that is excellent. Not perfect, but excellent.
Because each one of us as individuals are different. So you can't say, or I can't say that my fear is exactly like your fear. The challenge is to discover a middle ground, a similar path where we can have a conversation about what that means. And for most people, it's something that is inherently drawn up within themselves. Maybe because of how they grew up, maybe because of a cultural means or norms that was placed upon them by their families or from the place that they lived. So all that comes into play when you have conversations around fear, with limiting beliefs, which in the end is really about the story in your head of how you approach them.
The whole rhythm of life is moving from positivity to negativity, from fear to courage and back again. That's what life is. It's a turbulent cycle of emotions. And as a creator, it is your responsibility to be aware of the negative and the positive, and to know that you're always going to have both emotions and to use that to march forward.
As we become more familiar with the ways that fear and limiting beliefs show up in our lives, the question that remains is, what do we do when we recognize it? And why is it that some creators can use fear to their advantage, and for others, it just stalls them? It's those very questions that lead us to our final step. So let's move on and explore what practices can flip our fear equation.